For the first time since the beginning of the franchise, Dragon Ball will be going to the Demon Realm. For decades, this was something Toriyama briefly touched upon, but we never got a proper introduction. Dragon Ball Daima will change all of that. And besides just the Demon Realm, we're going to see the very first Makaishin make an appearance in Dragon Ball. So I thought there was no time like the present to catch everybody up on this special omnibus as I explain to you on this extra lengthy video everything you need to know about the Demon Realm, the fabled Makaishin, and everything you need to know about the demons themselves and what differentiates a demon like Dabura from another demon like Majin Buu, because they all count as demons, but they're very different variations. So by the end of this omnibus, you're going to have complete knowledge of everything Toriyama has given us about the demons until Dragon Ball Daima blows all of that open and we really get to experience it. So let's go ahead and get started now with an explanation on the Demon Realm in a brand new series that I'm calling Dragon Ball Cosmology. Here we're going to examine Dragon Ball Cosmic, the gods, the hierarchy, the demons, anything having to do with the multiverse will be talked about in detail on this series. Let's go ahead and get started now. A refresher on the Demon Realm.
To me, the Demon Realm is one of the most interesting aspects that Toriyama created for Dragon Ball, and it's a shame that the actual anime really doesn't focus too much on the Demon Realm, because in the video game world, Dragon Ball Heroes and Dragon Ball Online, there's tons of storylines revolving around the Demon Realm, but I want to give you kind of the 411 on what the Demon Realm is. So, the Demon Realm in Japanese is Makai, otherwise known as the Demon World, but you can also say Akumakai or Ankokumakai, the Demon Realm of Darkness. And the thing about the Demon Realm is that the big confusion is that a lot of folks think that the Demon Realm is hell, and the Demon Realm is not hell at all. They are two completely different things. The bulk of the information in this video is coming directly from Daizenshu 7, where it states that hell is, quote, a chaotic place where magic has more influence than science. So that sounds like something out of Thor or something. Well, anyways, the thing about the Demon Realm that I find interesting is that the Demon Realm is pretty much the lower half of what is considered the regular universe. So it's not explicitly said how this actually works, but the best way I've figured to picture it is imagine a double-sided snow globe, where on the top of the snow globe you have the regular world of the living, where you have things like the planets and stars and the sun and the solar systems and heaven and whatnot. Even the other world is there. And then on the other side exists the Demon Realm. So even though the Earth is not flat in Dragon Ball, you could say that the universe kind of is, because it has another side to it, so to speak, in a strange dimensional kind of way. But it overall is going to end up being round because it's two sides of a globe. And I always found it interesting because in the Demon Realm, not even the gods, the Kais, know too much about it because their eyes cannot reach it, which I think is very interesting. I remember in Xenoverse 2, Supreme Kai of Time states that the Demon Realm is at the ends of the universe, so there has to be some way to access it. And it's implied based on some anime-only Dragon Ball stuff that there might be several different ways to access the Demon Realm. Specifically in Dragon Ball, in the episode known as Goku Goes to the Demon Realm, there's a portal somewhere on Earth that takes you to the Demon Realm. At least we know there's one there. But it's difficult to say as to whether or not the Demon World in Dragon Ball is the same one that Toriyama would come up with years later. It could be an early idea that he had that he later changed or retconned, but that's an anime-only thing that wound up actually becoming an actual manga thing. So I find that interesting as well. I just wonder if the concept was the same, if you know what I mean. What we do know about the Demon Realm is that it is home to a number of very malicious entities, and there are records of life forms from the Demon Realm causing problems with the mortal world. We do know that in the Prime Dragon Ball universe, it is divided up into 4 different quadrants. The Demon Realm is also divided, but there's no clear indication as to how many sections it's divided into, but we do know without question that the entire demon realm at one time was ruled by Dabura, and that was of course revealed in the Buu arc. Obviously, Babidi has access to the demon realm, probably something that he learned from his father Bibidi, because it was implied that Babidi's father really knew a lot about dark magic and some of the darker aspects of the universe, hence his, conjuring of Majin Buu, but that's a video for another day. Now, it is confirmed by the Supreme Kai that Dabura is the strongest person in the demon realm, which at the time was a pretty big thing. Remember, Dabura's first appearance in Dragon Ball, he was on the level of Cell, which is the last main villain they had just got done fighting. So at the time, that was pretty damn strong. One thing that is not confirmed is what happened after Babidi took Dabura out of the demon realm. Did somebody else take over? We know that he's been working for Babidi for 300 years. So what happened during that time? Also, when I say that Dabura is the strongest in the demon realm, I'm talking about strictly from a mortal perspective, because the demon realm appears to have its own set of gods, which I will cover in a later video. We're talking about the Makaishin, so look forward to that very soon on the channel. You have to think of the demon realm as sort of the opposite, the negative of the, I guess you can say, the world above. And we've never actually seen the demon realm in the anime or in the manga, but during the fight with Dabura and Gohan, Babidi asked Dabura what he would like the terrain to look like, the fighting arena, and he said, make it look like the demon realm. So that is a glimpse of what the demon realm looks like, and later on in the same arc, we are told from King Yemma that Hell and the demon realm are very, very similar, which is why King Yemma sent Dabura to heaven to punish him, because Hell would be too much like his home world. Now, the Dragon Ball video game universe, that is to say the world created for Dragon Ball Online, Dragon Ball Heroes, and Dragon Ball Xenoverse, those series of games have really added a lot of extra lore to the demon realm that didn't originally exist and isn't part of the main continuity. And not just the fact that they created the character of Towa as being Dabura's sister, but also recently introduced a new villain, Mechi Kabuda, who is supposed to be an ancient sorcerer from the demon realm who is frighteningly powerful. The video games also gave us a tremendous amount of information that we didn't have previously about the creation of the demon realm, including some new lore. The demon realm was said to have been created by a huge plethora of evil wizards in a space where they were imprisoned, and Demigra, the boss of Xenoverse 1 and a few other Dragon Ball Heroes games, is said to be one of the wizards involved in this creation. Demigra is considered a god in the demon realm, but does that mean he is a Makaishin? That's never actually been stated, but many believe he is. But the plot of the video games always will be surrounding the demon realm. Towa's entire goal in these games is that she wants the demon realm to become one with the rest of the universe, the upper realm, to create what she calls the Garden of Evil, blooming with rage and pain. Man, does she need to chill out. The best way to look at the demon realm is that Hell is at the bottom of the other world, of the world of the dead, heaven, or whatever you want to call it. There's heaven, then there's hell, but the demon realm exists at the bottom of the living universe. I think that's the best way to describe the demon realm, and I think it's the easiest way to kind of digest what it is. It is a physical location, but it's one that cannot be accessed very readily within the known universe. Now, we know that the demon realm was sealed away many, many years ago. We don't know who it was that sealed it away, but we know that one of the major storylines in Dragon Ball Heroes is Towa and the Time Breakers trying to crack open the realm and bring it into the world of the living. And it also has its own kind of key. We know what energy is, and ki, and genki, and god ki, but the demon realm has a different kind of dark energy, dark Makai energy, which is how Towa is able to do all the things she can do by utilizing this evil energy. We also find out from the video games that the fruit from the tree of godly might, which is supposed to only be eaten by gods and not mortals, can amplify the dark Makai energy and make a character incredibly stronger than they ever have been. But of course, there is some semblance of corruption as well. They also become more evil. So there you go. Now, some of the video games outside of Online Heroes and Xenoverse create their own like wacky storylines about the Demon Realm that really don't make any sense. For example, if you remember Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury, that old Game Boy game, a good game though, they say on there that Janemba was once a crime boss in the Demon Realm. That's just wacky stuff they added for the game that really contradicts the entire character of Janemba. So remember to use some critical thinking when reading up on the Demon Realm, because there's always some weird stuff out there depending on what sources you go to. It's a shame that Dragon Ball Super, as of right now, still hasn't really touched on the Demon Realm, but that's okay because the video games do touch on it quite a bit. Unfortunately, as of right now, outside of Japan, you can't really play Dragon Ball Heroes, and thus you won't ever get the full grasp of the storyline in the game. But what Dragon Ball Super did do is introduce us to the 12 universes, and of course that begs the question, do each of the 12 universes have their own demon realm? Or is it something that's just part of Universe 7? That is a question we may never get answered, but I do hope that at some point in the future, Dragon Ball Super does explore the demon realm. Now, when it comes to discussing the Makaio and the Makaishin, you have to understand that this information is relatively new, but not that new. The first mention of the Makaishin, the demonic Supreme Kais, the evil Supreme Kais, is from an interview with Toriyama himself from the Super Exciting Guide. Now, one thing you have to always take into account when discussing the Super Exciting Guide is that it came out in 2009, which is several years before Dragon Ball Super and Battle of Gods and the Renaissance of the series, but it was also several years after the original series had wrapped up both manga and anime. So because of that, when we look at the Daizenshu, the Chozenshu, and the other guidebooks, the GT Perfect files, whatever you want to use, a lot of it is old information, and some of it may or may not apply to current Dragon Ball. So what Toriyama himself states is that while we know for certain that Dabura is the king of the demon realm, he is not a god. Instead, we have Makaio and Makaishin, which translates to kings of the demon realm or gods of the kings of the demon realm, depending on what we're talking about here. And basically they are Kais and Supreme Kais that are, well, demonic. They are the opposite, the negative of the Kais and Supreme Kais that we know of in the series proper. Toriyama says that whenever a Supreme Kai, a Shinjin, which is a special god race, is born, but they're born evil, they leave the Shinjin planet and go to the Makai, which is the demon realm. Now, it's not made clear if the evil Shinjin are the same as the original rulers, the original Makaishin in the demon realm. There's no actual origin story about the Makaishin's involvement, but we do know from the Dragon Ball video games that the demon realm was created by a plethora of wizards who were trapped in a space, and thus they created the demon realm. But it's never stated if those wizards are actually Shinjin or Makaishin. But Toriyama says in the interview that even though the Makaishin are evil, the Kaioshin, the good gods, the gods of creation, are more powerful in general. So it doesn't seem like the Makaishin really pose a threat to the Kaioshin. Now again, this is old information, and with the new Dragon Ball stuff coming out, starting with Battle of Gods, there was a lot of speculation before the film had come out about whether or not Beerus and Whis are Makaishin, but they are indeed not. Those are two totally different god classes. The reality is that we have not seen, and maybe never will see, a Makaishin in the actual Dragon Ball series, whether it be the anime or the manga, but there are a couple of suspects that I want to quickly elaborate on or possibly debunk, the first of which being Dabura. Dabura is not a Makaishin, he is just the ruler of the demon world. It's kind of like how the Earth has a president, or how Frieza was an emperor in Universe 7, same thing. Dabura is just the ruler, but he's not a god. Then we have, of course, a guy who many Dragon Ball fans thought was a Makaishin incorrectly, whether it be speculation or just a misunderstanding of what a Makaishin actually is, and that is Zamasu. Zamasu is not a Makaishin or a Makaio. Zamasu is just a Kaioshin who rebelled against both the mortals and the gods. He's a Kai that went bad, but that's not a Makaishin, because a Makaishin is born with an evil heart, and it's implied that even though a Makaishin is a Shinjin, it's not the same as the other Kais. They're sort of a different race. Now, the closest that we've come to an actual Makaishin in Dragon Ball cannot be found in the Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Z series. You have to go to the Dragon Ball video game universe, the universe that is created for the games like Dragon Ball Online, Dragon Ball Heroes, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, and a little bit of Dragon Ball Fusions. And the biggest suspect is Demon God Demigra. Now, Demigra does fall into the category of being a Makaishin based on the fact that his name is Demon God and that there's implications that he helped create the demon realm, but the interesting story here is that it doesn't appear to be the same thing at all as what Toriyama described, for the sole purpose that Demigra was not born an evil Kai. Even though Demigra's first appearance was in Dragon Ball Xenoverse, Dragon Ball Heroes really expounds upon his origin, and we find out in Dragon Ball Heroes that Demigra was originally just a wizard in heaven who worked alongside the Supreme Kai of Time and was a caretaker to Toki Toki, the Time Bird. He would eventually betray Cronoa, the Supreme Kai of Time, and thus he and other wizards were sealed away in some kind of temporal prison, but they converted that into the demon realm. So if you take that story and you combine it with Toriyama's original interview, it appears that Demigra may have created the demon realm, and since then, since his original creation, which was 75 million years before Xenoverse, so we're talking about a long time ago, the story that the games are telling us is that the Makaishin are banished to the demon realm if they are born with evil hearts. So, you know, it's not a story that was explicitly said by Toriyama, but Toriyama did have input in the Xenoverse game as well as in Dragon Ball Online. We don't know how much, but he certainly had it. So it makes sense that that kind of be the actual story here, that, you know, Demigra was sort of like the first Makaishin, but he's not a member of the corrupt Makaishin race. You can kind of think of it like Lucifer and the demons in the original Bible. You know, it's sort of similar how they're going for that kind of reference. Let's go back to the Dragon Ball series. The first, and when it pertains to the original manga, the only reference of demons is the Demon Clan, which is led by Demon King Piccolo, Piccolo Daima, and his children cymbal, drum, piano, tambourine, and of course, Piccolo Jr., who would become, you know, the Piccolo from DBZ that we all know and love. Now, it is never explicitly stated in the series exactly what the qualifications are to become a member of the Demon Clan, or to become a demon, but presumably speaking, when Kami, the original child of Katatsu, discarded all of the evil from his body to become a god, that evil manifested itself and became corrupt into a physical manifestation, which would, of course, be Demon King Piccolo from Dragon Ball. And we would later find out in Dragon Ball Z that Piccolo and Kami aren't even from the Earth, they're from the planet Namek. Now, when you examine Piccolo's children outside of Piccolo Jr., Ma Jr., these characters, you know, drum, tambourine, cymbal, don't look anything like Namekians, and that's because they are not. A lot of people think that they are, and that is incorrect information. They are Mazoku, members of the Demon Clan. Because Demon King Piccolo, despite being bred from Namekians, that is the key here that you have to remember about Piccolo, is that Piccolo is the pure manifestation of evil that came out of a Namekian, and thus he's going to retain some Namekian properties like regenerating his body parts and things like that, and of course laying eggs. But when Piccolo lays eggs, it's not like other Namekians when they lay eggs. It's a corrupted and sinister version of Namekian childbirth, and that's why he gives birth to demons, because he's pure evil. His version of Namekian reproduction is different, but when it came to the birth of Piccolo, it changed, because not only is he a child of Demon King Piccolo, he is the reincarnation, but the difference between Piccolo and Piccolo Jr. is that Piccolo Jr. was not purely created out of evil. He was created from his father, which was an evil entity, but as the series progressed with his relationship with Gohan and his eventual friendship with Goku, we saw that the characteristics of a demon clansman were less and less a part of Piccolo. He became less evil and would eventually become a pretty good dude. In fact, Piccolo himself says when he's giving birth to his children that he wants to make them look a certain way. He can control the way they look, and it's never stated as to whether or not this is a Namekian trait, but it appears to not be. It appears to be something that only he can do because he's mixing in that pure evil from being a demon. As far as we know, there's no real tie-in with Piccolo and the demon realm, but the word demon is used to describe him, which is why I'm making this video, because it can get confusing. The next time the word demon is talked about is Garlic Jr., which again, we're going to get into anime only filler and movie stuff because they use the word demon. Garlic Jr. and his henchmen are also referred to as demon clansmen. They come from the planet Makio. Now, in the English dub, they call it the Makio Star, but in the original version, it's a planet. Now, the story of Garlic is outlined in the movie and in the TV series with his father trying to become God and whatnot, and how the planet Makio comes to Earth every 5,000 years. But the planet Makio is not the demon realm. It's its own planet with inhabitants on it that just happens to have demonic properties, I guess you can say, but it's not really connected to the demon realm necessarily, but they seem to be malicious. At least some of them seem to be malicious and selfish. Then we have, of course, the Majins, which literally translates to demon person or demon human or whatever you want to call it. Now, when I say Majin in this case, I'm not talking about characters like Sopopovich and Vegeta who got, you know, under Babidi's spell and whatnot. I'm talking about like Buu, like the original, you know, demonic Majin. As far as we know, in the continuity of the Dragon Ball series, not Dragon Ball Online, that's a different situation, Majin Buu is one of a kind. In the original story, Bibidi created Majin Buu, but that's been retconned by Toriyama, where he explained that Buu existed since the beginning of time, and that Bibidi just conjured him up. The Viz translation of the Dragon Ball manga refers to him as Jin Buu, but I assure you that Majin Buu is his actual name. Majin, like I said, meaning demon person, but he's a one-of-a-kind demon. He is not from the demon realm. In fact, when Toriyama retconned it so that he was there since the beginning of time, that means that he actually predates the demon realm. So he may have actually been the first pure demon in existence, and as of right now, we really don't know what Toriyama meant by Buu existing since time immemorial. We don't know if maybe he is the representation of all evil and that he existed because we needed evil to balance out the universe. That's never actually said, but I'm just taking his words and kind of trying to make sense of it all. The demons from the demon realm appear to be strictly just Dabura, and the characters from the Dragon Ball Heroes video games. There's no demons from the demon realm in the Dragon Ball series, anime or manga, as of this video. But like I've just outlined, these are demons referred to as demons, but not ones from the demon realm, because that word gets thrown around quite a bit in Dragon Ball. In fact, even in Dragon Ball Z Movie 4, where they fought Lord Slug, there are people who refer to themselves as demon clansmen, but I chalk that up to Lord Slug being a carbon copy of Piccolo anyways. I mean, that storyline was almost a complete ripoff of the Piccolo arc from Dragon Ball with some changes. So maybe this guy, again, did what Demon King Piccolo did and got corrupted and, you know, gave birth to his henchmen, but I don't think that's ever really been explained. Then we also have the Majin Ozato, the villain from the Dragon Ball Z VRVS video game, which again, he's an exclusive villain to that game, and that game came out before the Majin Buu arc had actually begun. So it's just a coincidence that the word Majin was used there when there's no real connection to Buu at all. There's no connection there. In fact, with Dragon Ball Z Movie 13, with Hirudegarn, he's also referred to as a demon. They call him Gen Majin, which is sort of like more of a word for phantasm than actual demon. So you always run into some trouble when it comes to translating these things. I do want to thank Herms for putting this together for us years ago, because it's hard to figure this stuff out when there's words being used over and over again to define different races and different characters in this series.
And that is what opens the Cosmology Guide. On the next edition, we're going to focus on the Demon King Dabura in extreme detail. Subscribe, enable all notifications, and here are some videos for you to watch about the God hierarchy and Daima that you need to see. I'll see you next time.